Good morning, afternoon, and evening, everyone. Welcome back to a new episode of Knock of the Perch, where we talk everything Manchester United. The transfer window has just ended, and we are about to face big titans Liverpool in our next clash in the Premier League.
And a lot has happened over the past week. There have been a few transfer ins and outs. We'll discuss all of them. We will preview the game against Liverpool. What are our thoughts? How is it that we should be playing? And yeah, hopefully we come out the winners at the end of this one. So yeah, let's get started. So Dheeraj, a lot has happened in the past week in terms of transfers. I think our squad is looking drastically different from what it was at the end of previous season. And this week with Ugarte finally being confirmed and McTominay sadly being sold and Sancho being sold. I'm so excited about that. So what did you make of all of that?
Yeah, brilliant business on the deadline day. I feel the sign of a big club, the sign of a well run club is one in which, most of the big deals have been done before the deadline day. And that was the case with us. Ugarte was majorly pending only the announcement. Here we go. It happened about 2 days back. And yeah, I mean, it was great to have that over the line. Of course, a bittersweet feeling of Scott having left the club. Good luck to him in Napoli. But like all the squad mentioned, he will be sorely missed at Old Trafford. His presence did give a lot of inspiration to our academy lads who saw his growth from 8-year-old to someone who moved past all the age groups and United setup. I read a very interesting fact. Scott McTominay was at United before Rooney was signed, and he has been here since like Rooney left. So yeah, I mean that just tells you the longevity of
He has been associated with the club for 22 years, since he was 5 years old. So that speaks volumes about how good he has been for the club across levels. Each and every manager loved him after he was given his debut by Jose Mourinho. Each and every manager has played him. They loved him. Eric Ten Hag in yesterday's press conference spoke about the fact that he didn't want to sell him. He is somebody who is very, very valuable to the squad. But yeah, I think such is the business side of the running a big football club, and maybe this decision made business sense. But yeah, I think emotionally a lot of fans will feel drained at McTominay going. But to counter that, I think emotionally a lot of fans are going to be excited. I am. I know you feel there could be a player in Sancho, but yeah, may that player play somewhere else. I would have been happier had he been sold to Juventus, so that we don't have to see him in the Premier League. At least this year he doesn't play against us. I hope Chelsea don't qualify for top four, and Sancho definitely has no role to play in that. But yeah, I think decent bit of business. From what I was reading, and I'm not sure if these numbers are correct, but I think we are getting 10 million for this year as loan fee with an obligation to buy for 25 million and Chelsea covering all the wages. So yeah, that's I think decent bit of business getting almost like 35 million for Sancho at this stage and his wages being covered. So I think that frees up a lot of our budget.
yeah, would have been nice had we seen the best of Sancho throughout his time at United. It wasn't to be the case, but yeah, his time at United has always been tumultuous across managers, I feel. First of all, the transfer itself took a whole of 1.5 years or so to complete. When we finally had them, there were so many ins and outs and so many manager changes we went through. That does impact the performance of the player as well. Last year, the man had to go for a couple of months, mental well-being leave as well. But yeah, never got going his career at United. I really hope he finds his mojo back at Chelsea. Not against matches with us, but yeah, other than that, wish him well. And yeah, it's a great piece of business. I think this is the best selling window United have had for quite a long time. Not just post Ferguson, even pre Ferguson. I think we were never great sellers. I can only think of a couple of examples, Ronaldo sale and all, wherein we got good value for our assets. I think around 140, 150 odd million we recouped, even though there was a huge transfer outlay for these set players. But still, they were players who weren't getting minutes at United, who weren't in line to get any minutes this season either. So to get them out in such a short span of time in just one window, in their first window as well, it sounds great piece of work by the new ownership.
Yeah, it almost gives a signal that there is a lot of footballing thought process in making some of these decisions, and it's less of commercial value and less of emotional value attached to it. Because I remember at the time of Ed Woodward, there was almost a no touching Marshall sort of a policy, because I think one of the Glazers really liked him. And had we moved from Marshall at the right point in time, we could have recouped some value out of him as well. But this window seems like very astute window, and I think this will also give the other players a signal that nobody's untouchable in the team. I think Sancho was one of the highest paid, maybe after Rashford and Casemiro, maybe Bruno. I think he was one of the highest paid players in the team. The fact that they were able to move him on, convince Chelsea to cover most, if not all, of his wages, I think that's a big deal. So yeah, all in all, I think this is like a 8.5, 9 sort of a window for me.
The last couple of years, we have seen player power getting reduced at United. Started with Ronaldo getting ousted, then Sancho getting ousted, getting his loan move at Borussia Dortmund. So the manager is being backed now, and that like the whole structure seems to be supportive of the manager. Yeah, like there were rumors about us moving on from Eric Ten Hag and interviewing other managers, but he has had a signing. He's got a lot of players he didn't want out of the club. There can be no more excuses this year for Eric Ten Hag, can there be?
This year, no excuses. I think top four is the minimum we need for this to be a decently successful season for Eric Ten Hag to continue in the managerial position. Because if we don't get that top four, I don't see Ten Hag continuing, to be very honest. I'm fairly positive that that should happen. Although it's not going to be easy, I think there are some, if not 8, at least 6, 7 teams which are competing for the top 4 spot. So it is not going to be easy, but that is the minimum standard we have set for ourselves, and hopefully another trophy, whether it is Europa League or one of the domestic cups, that will be a good cherry on top of that cake. But yeah, no more excuses for Ten Hag now.
Moving on from that, Ten Hag's first victory for his Manchester United tenure did come against Liverpool. I think this is a good segue as they need to talk about the upcoming game at Liverpool.
And that too, after a defeat against Brighton, or was it Brentford? Yeah. I think one of the two. But I think, in the first season, he lost first game Brighton at home, second game Brentford away, and then we won Liverpool home. So yeah, third game of the season then as well, third game of the season now as well. So
just scored a good goal in that game by the way.
Yeah, was it a Malacia assist where Sancho did a turn away from the defender and then right bottom corner? I think it was that goal.
Yeah, he sold Van Dijk away. Yeah, that was Malacia assist, I think. What other games of Manchester United Liverpool can you come to memory when you think about it? They have had like so many big battles. Any specific goal, any specific memory you have of that game?
Maybe it is recency bias, but last year's FA Cup game I think comes to my mind first. And the moment I thought about it, I couldn't stop thinking about the fact that Ahmad, on a yellow card, went on to score that goal and took his t-shirt off. And then we got another yellow card as it was sent off. I was just wondering, had we conceded a goal after that, what would be the thought process of Ten Hag with Ahmad at that point in time? But thankfully we didn't. I think that was one of those games where we showed that resilience as a Manchester United squad. We didn't have most of our players at that point in time. Anthony sulked a bit for having to play left back. But yeah, I think that was a brilliant game. And so there was this entire talk about Klopp's farewell year. They are going for a quadruple and all of that. We just ended all of that. So I think that was wonderful. And yeah, I think matches against Liverpool always are big ones. And this is Premier League with another Dutch manager, and Liverpool fans are very high on slot ball to begin with. And I think maybe rightly so. I think they've had a decent start in the Premier League. So this one should be a good one. I think if we can beat them in this one, it deflates some of that slot ball hype that is being built. It brings us back on track. And I think we need this victory. after the close loss against Brighton. If we go on to lose this one with the international break, you won't hear the end of all the nonsense that people start talking about the squad, the manager for 2 weeks, and I just don't want that negativity. For that reason, I think this one I'm more looking forward to the result than the performance. I think we just need to win somehow. What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, big game for both the managers. It was quite well established before the season began that Liverpool has one of the easiest starts for all the big teams. So them winning the first two games isn't something out of the book. They were supposed to win those two games, but definitely the how they have won these two games has to be looked at. The first game against Ipswich, they started a bit light, but got into the game in the second half. And the second half performance against Ipswich was mind blowing. Like, their attacking prowess was on full flow there. All the defenders and all the attacking positions, they were so much sync. You could see Salah run the show, and Salah is someone who has run the show against United for quite many years now. So yeah, I mean, stopping Salah, stopping Liverpool would be no easy feat this time around. It's a big game for both the managers, a must win for both the managers, truly.
Yeah. Uh, Talking about that Ipswich game, I think first half, and kudos to Kieran McKenna, I think they had Liverpool somewhat in it. I think what it missed was just being a little more clinical and getting that one goal, because then it would have put Liverpool under some pressure at that point in time. But Liverpool managed that in second half. They came out well. Few of the patterns that I was seeing, I think they're going for a more controlled aggression. If I were to put it like that, they are looking to build from the back, and especially the fullbacks are playing a critical role. Both Robertson and Trent Alexander-Arnold, they are being very critical in how they are building up. And I looked at some of the extended highlights. I haven't seen the full games, but what I was able to notice was more often than not, they are very confident with how they build from the back. So Van Dijk and maybe Konate, who started in the second game, they will be critical as they sort of get the balls from Allison. And what Robertson or Trent Alexander do, one of them steps in the midfield to create that overload in the midfield, and which is where if the opposition is trying to counter press and get the ball off the opposition, it creates a lot of space in the midfield. So then they find one good pass to one of the midfielders, and Soboslai at number 10 is being really good. Earlier, they used to play 4-3-3. I think now Soboslai is more in that 10 role. And that is a bit of a change in slot management versus club management. And Soboslai attracts the ball, and it gives some space to Salah or Diaz on either of the wings. More often than not, I've seen them build from the right, which is where Diaz ends up being an inward winger, and they sort of create that overload in the box, and then they find their chances to score the goals. So I think what will be very interesting is because United is playing a way which might suit Liverpool. So it will be interesting if United change their way, because we are trying to press the opponents. And if Liverpool is able to navigate that press that we are trying to do, then I think we will be very open in the midfield. So how Ten Hag solves for that will be something interesting.
Yeah, I believe a change in system is in order. I say this because of the very recent defeat against Brighton, as well as the loss of Mount in the old system. Mount was very paramount for our system, wherein he was leading the press along with Bruno. Bruno and Mount were alternating between the press. Plus, I also feel Liverpool has become a bit more press resistant. I say this because of one player. It has been very well documented that Liverpool were after Zubimendi, who's a very special type of player who is one of the best number six in the world as we speak, only because not only he breaks play, but he also initiates the moves. He also looks for the next pass and is very good at that. Liverpool weren't able to get Zubimendi, but as a result of that, what they have found is Bach has made the position his own in the last couple of games. He has been brilliant. The Liverpool fans have been raving about, and correctly so as well, because he has not only broken a play, he has initiated those passes. So not getting Zubimendi has been made up by Bach stepping up since his last year's form. That, along with the kind of playmaker winger role which Salah has been playing since a year and a half, and Salah has returned very fresh, very sharp this season. Salah's contribution cannot be underplayed, especially against United, it cannot be underplayed because he is the player who against United has scored the most number of goals now, and it isn't by chance. He does find space. He does find players at the right moment. There is one player who is at the top of his game right now. There was a time year and a half back when I really thought that he's losing his pace. This might just start the downfall, but it shows the intelligence of the player, how he has crafted his art, how he has molded his role into a playmaker, not just a goal scorer. And his numbers have kept up as well. He was one of the highest scorers last year as well, right?
Yeah, I mean, continuously getting maybe 25 goals and assist involvement season on season is no mean feat. And although he's a Liverpool player, and I don't like to talk about most of the Liverpool players with so much of respect, but the guy is a Premier League legend, and there is some bit of affection towards him with all the FPL points he's gotten, most of us. So yeah, we like the chap. He's also seems like a decent personality to have in the squad, one of the leaders in the squad now. And stopping him will be difficult, and especially with Trent Alexander-Arnold also on that right side. I think it will be a lot of work cut out for Rashford and Dalot on how to sort of navigate them. That said, I think a little bit of a issue, not so much to say an issue, but I think Liverpool are starting the games relatively slower is what I observed. So I was just going back to some of the statistics in the first game against Ipswich. In the first, let's say 30-35 minutes, they only had 2 or 3 shots, and which is where we talked about against Ipswich. They were not very strong in the first half, but even against Brentford, in the first half, they only had like 5 shots. And in both the games, they ended up having 19 shots each. So as they grow into the game, they are becoming very dangerous. That is what United must look at capitalizing. United will need to start the game strong and be clinical in that initial period of 15, 20, 30 minutes, because maybe it is Slot style of management or what, I don't know. I think it's too little of a sample size to talk about it. But if we have seen 2 games where after halftime team talk, there's a drastic difference in how well Liverpool is able to control the game. It maybe has got to do with how Slot is tweaking the team during that halftime. But one thing that will be very important for us is to get into halftime with some sort of a lead, even if it is a 1-goal lead. That could be crucial.
Yeah, to be honest, I believe the best chance United have of winning this game is via counter attack. I don't see us dominating possession in this one. Liverpool are the team who have created the most XG, have had the most number of shots in the first 2 games. Even though it was against so-called lesser opponents, there is nothing called a lesser opponent in Premier League.
Yeah.
And the system which we have in play right now, it does delve upon, the other team having a lot of possession and us gaining the ball in their halves. So yeah, counter attack and the speed, clinical nature of Rashford, Garnacho, Ahmad is what I'm counting on. And you're very rightly, you mentioned this could be a big, long day for Dalot, who is playing at a left back positions. I mean, to play left back against Brighton, Fulham is one thing. To play it against Salah, who is in the top-notch form of his career, is totally a different task. He'll need all the help he can get from Rashford as well. The more Rashford pulls the field, the more contained Trent would be. So yeah, I mean, I hope Rashford is up for the game. His confidence has not been sky high this season. I really hope he's up for the game. And to his credit, he does show up in big games. We've seen that in games against City. We've seen that in games against Liverpool, Arsenal. Rashford does show up when the big games come up, and he will have to turn a page now, because the last game was not his best game. The man didn't have a shot on target the whole game. I still believe he gets the nod ahead of Garnacho again this game also.
Yeah. No, I was just picking up on what you said in terms of we will probably have to win this game on counter attack. Does that mean Erik ten Hag changes the way of looking at this game? Because for a change, both the last 2 games, we had more possession than our opponents. So we are definitely trying to keep the ball a lot more, and we are trying to not play on the counter so much. Even for that matter, against City, we had a 45% possession or something on those lines, which is a drastic improvement from the days of, winning on counter attack with a 30% possession and all of that. Especially since we are playing at Old Trafford, does it mean there is some bit of pressure to not seem like lesser team and sit deep, play on the counter? Any thoughts on that?
I've seen enough managers, Raj, by now who have fell into that trap. We have seen a very long Ole interview wherein he said, had he sat back and respected the opponents, he was talking about Liverpool and City, those two games, he said, had he sat back, but there was so much pressure to entertain, there was so much pressure to attack, to be proactive in attacking, that he gave in to that pressure and both ended up in defeats. I think Ten Hag is a bit more pragmatic. We have seen that in big games. We saw that in the FA Cup final. We saw that in Community Shield as well. He does adapt his game according to the opponents. And like I mentioned, the absence of Mount will lead up to a change in our positional play. I will change in formation as well. I'm assuming we will be moving on from 4-2-2 to some sort of a 4-3-3 structure. Of course, our pressing play won't be changing that much, but I do believe this is the game wherein Xerxes comes into play and starts the game. On that note, what are your thoughts on the predicted starting 11 for this game?
Yeah, so I think this one is going to be slightly difficult to predict given how the last game played out and the fact that this is a big one against Liverpool. So multiple variables come into play. How deep you want to throw some of the new signings in. So especially with Mount injury, we might be forced into a change of formation. But in the back line, I see maybe Delict finally getting that first start over Maguire, especially given the pace of Salah, Diaz. I think it may require us to be able to resist some of that counter attacks. And one thing I noticed with Liverpool, even when they're playing bad, and we talked about this earlier as well, they can make an attack out of nowhere, and their forwards are so clinical. They will end up scoring there from almost like a nothing position. They have also had a couple of goals on counter, and to resist that counter, we'll need pacier centre backs. So I think Delict gets a start over Harry Maguire. Rest of the backline maybe remains the same for me. Midfield, the pivot remains the same for me. I don't think Ugarte has been registered yet, so I don't think he starts this one. And that's probably slightly tactical in nature by United as well. Not, expose your new signing to a big game against Liverpool, give him time to bed in over the international break and all of that. And maybe he starts after that. So the pivot remains the same. Over the front four, I think we will see a change in formation. Instead of a 2-2, we might see a 3-1 there. Or Bruno may be becoming part of the central midfield. So Bruno starts in that 8-10 kind of a position, maybe closer to 8 for the Liverpool game. Then wingers, again, this is something which I think everybody wants Garnacho to start this one, but I still feel big game. Ten Hag is going to back Rashford. Rashford starts on the left, Ahmad starts on the right. Garnacho will be critical coming in at around the 60th minute. And yeah, maybe Xerxes gets his first game up top.
I agree with the starting 11. I believe that should be a good starting 11. And starting Rashford is important not only from the tactical point of view, but he is a Manchester lad. He has seen games against Liverpool. He has been to those games at Liverpool as a fan, and he knows what it means to score in that, and he knows what it means to the fans. Him starting is key, and we discussed already how his pace and his forward position is gonna keep both Trent as well as Salah at bay. So yeah, him starting is key. I really hope Xerxes, gets a good sight of goal in this one. Even though seeing, how Liverpool attack, how Liverpool like to have a go at opponent, I think we might nick this game 2-1. What is your predicted score for this one?
In fact, I was also going to go for something similar. I've also had 2-1 in my mind because I feel Liverpool have enough quality to at least get a goal in. So it won't be a clean sheet type of a game for us. But on the counter, we should be able to create some chances, and I hope we can get those 2 goals in. I think it's that fan inside you which never wants to predict a non-result against a team like Liverpool, so to say. But on the balance of things, I will be happy with the draw as well.
We did have two draws against them last year. Both the games in the Premier League were a 2-2 draw and a 0-0 draw.
Yeah.
We only won the game against them at Old Trafford at the FA Cup, which was the fourth
quarterfinal.
Yeah, but shows how back and forth these games were, how much of a tactical battle it was, that the scores were so close, and even the fourth goal did come out as a counter attack against corner which they had. And that is one thing which I hope to see more of. Our major problem last year was at porous defense. Some 63 goals conceded in last year, I believe. Fixing that issue is paramount to us being successful this season, and hope that starts against Liverpool. There were signs of miscommunication during the Brighton game. We saw how those two goals panned out. But yeah, I really hope Licha and Dillit or Maguire, whoever is starting there, they do sort out this one and bring us back to points.
Yeah, and adding to that, I think just being clinical in front of goal, right? I think that is very critical. We scored very few goals last season as well. We had a negative goal difference, -1 if I'm not wrong. So that is something that has to change as well. While we try to protect our goal and be strong defensively, we have to be clinical up front. I think we created enough big chances in the first two games to probably have like 4 or 5 goals in the first two games. We only have 2 to show for it. But I think that also needs to change. And Rashford, Ahmad, and even Garnacho will have to step up in that regard. And Zirkzee, obviously. All the front four will have to step up and be clinical in front of the goal.
Agree. So yeah, this is the game where we have to knock them off the perch, I guess.
I'm repeating myself, but going into the international break after a game against Liverpool, that too on a Sunday, I just hope we are able to nick this one, if not for a better performance. Overall, on the balance of things, going into the international break, 6 points out of 9 should be a good one. Cool. So with that, come to the end of the pod for today. We discussed how the transfers played out and what was our thoughts on that. We previewed the game against Liverpool. Where is it that we could win this game? What will be the key battles? How is it that our style of play might slightly change for this one? So yeah, hopefully we are able to win this one. We are able to keep the slot ball hype to the minimal. So yeah, thanks for joining in, everyone. Please share this with your friends in case you liked it. Give us your thoughts, your opinions on how is it that we can improve this further. And yeah, as always, this is our perch. Let's knock him off. Until next time, stay united.